Welcome to the Spirit and Soul Healing Podcast. I'm Amy Sikarskie, Master Energy Therapist, channeler, mentor, and friend. I'm so happy to connect. I hope you enjoy this episode. Hi, friends. Welcome to today's episode of the podcast. I'm so excited to bring on my friend Lizzie. Lizzie was a student at Spirit School, and we met through courses and sessions. And then she was a member of the Sacred Healers Circle. And I'm so excited to catch up with her today and to share with you all of her amazing energy and the wisdom that will come through. So, welcome to today's episode. I hope you enjoy. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this episode. I'm so happy to bring my friend Lizzie on with Spark the Hearts. Welcome, Lizzie. Welcome to the Spirit and Soul Healing
Hi.
Podcast.
Thank you. It's a pleasure and a joy to be here today with you, Amy, and everybody that's listening and through the airways. It's nice to be in your ears. Hi.
Yes, so we're wherever you can find audio podcasts, but we are also on YouTube. So if you're a visual and you want to pop on over to YouTube for a more interactive experience, invite you over there at Amy Sikarskie, and I'll put the link below so you can just hop on over. So Lizzie, girl, it's been a minute since we got to catch
Yes.
up.
Yes, it has been a minute. But so much life has been going on, and it's really nice to sit in this, and it kind of feels like being back in the Sacred Healer Circle because we like just would flow with it, and I'm loving this so far.
Yeah, we had a little catch up before I hit record. It's so nice to feel the energy and to hear everything that's been happening. So, there are a few things we'd love to share with our listeners. And I think first and foremost is there's this frequency of friendship that I have with you that I want to just like extend to our listeners. And that energy of, hey guys, like we're all in here. Like if you're feeling something and a shift in the collective or things coming up in your personal life and your relationships, the dynamics, chances are we are too. And so to see the synchronicities and the paralleled similarities has been amazing as one who connects in with community. And you were sharing with me that when you do your Instagram lives, you've been having some themes come up. Do you want to share with listeners and we can dive into those a little bit?
No, yes, please, because I felt like when I was doing my lives, everybody I was doing mini readings, and everybody was just coming in with this energy. And the theme that I saw across the board was like family dynamics,
Mm.
and as well as just speaking up, speaking your truth and knowing your worth as well. And it was really interesting because I felt like everybody was hitting it at different levels, whether it's the mother daughter, whether it's a certain family member in the family, or whether it was just being expressive and having those hard conversations, and that aligning you more with who you are and what your truth is so that you can be in a space where you're speaking from the heart and not feeling the weight of the severity of everything just being held within you. It's a sense of relief coming out in multiple aspects when you're speaking from a space that is not meant to be hurtful for another, but just express what's really going on inside so that the other party can then have that. And I love it because you taught me this choice point to either move with the energy that you're bringing in by speaking your truth, or decide to go their own direction, and it clears up so much that way.
Yeah. I love what you're sharing. I'm just having so many visions flow in as you're speaking about this. And it is the energy of the heart. The heart is a very powerful chakra point. And to me, it's more than a chakra point. I feel like there's just some true healing magic that happens there. So when you run the energy through the heart, you can feel that the ego dissolves away and things land a little bit softer. We can get the message across in a way that gives the information without that sting or feeling like we're being shut out, or some people I'm hearing abandoned or dismissed. So when we
Mhm.
have that heart space connection, I think that it really can help us move forward. I remember like this little technique, we'll say, this tip that I used, and I don't know, I think my guides probably told me or somewhere I heard it, but When I would get in an argument with my husband and we would both get so worked up over absolutely nothing. But I will say when you're close to somebody and sensitive and you feel the energy start to build and then you feed off of each other, and then I'd stop and look at him and I'm like, what are we even fighting about? Like, this is so dumb. I don't even know what's going on here. And that's a whole other conversation we can get into. But the thing that quickly resolved it is we would just hug. I'm like, let's just hug and let the energy do the magic. Let the energy do the magic. And so when you're hugging and you put, so the heart sits a little to the left. So then you hug left to left side. And it's just like, oh, okay. Yeah, we're friends again. And now I'll say,
So,
are we
I
friends
love
anymore?
girl, I love that you share that because, like, me and my husband will hug, but we'll do this thing where it's like we'll receive each other's heart area too. So we hug in a specific way, and you can literally feel each other's heartbeat like that. And
Yeah.
so it speaks volumes because it is truth, and it really does like stop you in your tracks of like, what the heck is going on right now?
Hmm.
Let's just speak from a space of clarity and connectivity instead of like feeling like this. The best way I could describe how I see it in my head is like this frequency of zzz, like this zzz, instead
Yes.
of just like, let's flow, let's vibe, let's have a cool wave. Let's not like let that accelerated heartbeat take over the conversation or our interactions with each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some mad, crazy energy can happen, like that chaotic pulse when it's in the energy field. And then the
Yes.
energy is going back and forth, back and forth. When you said you were gonna give your husband a hug, I saw you reach your arm up really high. So is he tall?
Yeah, so he's taller than me, so I like have to go but it's not even I'm just short. I'm short, guys. I'm like 5'2". I say 5'2" and a half, 5'3" on a good day.
All right. Yeah, yeah, girl, I'm almost there. I mean, I'm a little bit taller than you.
See,
So
I'm
tippy
short.
toes.
Oh
Yes.
my god.
So funny. Yes. Okay. So this has been coming through those family dynamics. And you know what happened? I think the family aspect is one of our biggest teachers, and we can learn so much. We can be triggered so much. It's just like, oh my goodness. And there's so many reasons for it. But one thing is when we come into this family line, we're part of that DNA, that tree, that lineage. And so we're also healing and navigating the energies, and we'll call it like the subconscious knee jerk things that, like, are hidden within that frequency of the DNA that originated generations before. So not only are we being conscious, but as a healer and a psychic medium, like, we're also aware of the past life implications, the spiritual energetic dynamic, and then the DNA stuff. So, and the patterns within the family. It's very, very interesting to be conscious and feel like, okay, well, what's happening here? Where is this coming from? I'm really feeling like on high alert. And then we go into how do we look at this for healing? What's the best way? So when we hug and we calm the heart down, it allows it that us that clarity and that moment to think through it. And I would say sometimes it's nice to take a breath if we get in an argument, to separate the space. Like if we're on a phone call, hey, let's reconvene. I'll call you back in a bit when I calm down, or this kind of a thing. But it provides such a great space for deep, deep soul healing. And also, many of us we selected this family as, like, to me, I felt it was like a bonus. I'm kind of smiling and joking, like, surprise, surprise, I'm gonna go in and we're
Surprise,
gonna, like,
surprise.
yes, that exact meme. Yes, girl. Surprise, surprise. You thought this would be easy. Haha. Like, look at this pop up here, like a
Girl,
whack-a-mole. Do you know that game? And then this
yes,
pops up, and then that popped up. And it would be from family DNA. So it's just the added bonus, lucky us, that we get to navigate through. But the benefit is we heal it, and we're healing it
yes,
for generations in the past and to come. So are you
yes.
noticing, like, that's a big part of it?
Yes, a big part of it is my personal life as well with it because I've had to have those conversations. I've had to have it come in, and then as well as like how you said, just taking those moments to just really breathe in and see it from a different aspect and see what's the bigger picture here. As well as with clients, I feel like it's just being reflected back, but like at the beginning of this year, there was a lot more like conversation and communication needed to be had, and as well as seeing, well, who's being receptive and who's not. And then
Mhm.
seeing the pattern down the lineage. Because personally, I could say, I started to sit down and say, why is this coming up now?
Yeah.
Why now? And then what have I been doing in my life to really like not, what is it? To like really spark this up within me. And why can I say the things now that I couldn't say 5, 10 years ago? And it's
Yeah.
because it's a reflective of the growth that we do inside too. And as well as how it shows up outside so that it can be handled differently. And it changes the foundations within ourselves so that outside of us, it also creates foundations with the relationships we have amongst, whether it's a loved one, a family member, or just a friend. It's like as you do the inner work, it really does switch up. And I'm feeling like so much energy in my legs. And I keep feeling like this is foundational work. Like this is big stuff. This isn't something little. It's root chakra energy, it's stuff with family dynamics, it's you feeling safe within yourself and being able to finally speak up and use that voice so it can create like a ripple effect in this reality. And
Mhm.
what I want to say is, on top of like the themes of family, it's also just what is your relationship with yourself too through the process. Like I love how you said like have being conscious and moving with this awareness of something big happening, what is also happening internally with you after the conversation is had, before the conversation is had? Are you giving yourself grace? Are you allowing yourself to have a moment to just let the feelings go through you and just tell you what they need to say so that you can do the work that you need to do to take care of you through that process too? Because it's not, this ancestral work and these family themes aren't always the easiest to go through, especially when you feel like you're the only one that's having to have these conversations sometimes. And you're like, what is wrong with me? Why am I the one always bringing up something? Or it be vice versa. Why is somebody always bringing something up to me? Maybe you're on the other side of it. And it kind of helps you to just step back and reflect and see, well, what's really going on in my interior world, in my exterior world at the same time. And asking those questions could really root you in to the moments of having clarity come through you when you ask questions and allowing it to be shown to you. And it's not always going to be outside. Maybe you'll have an experience where you have a feeling come and hit you when you realize, like, oh, if you allow spirit to come in and you just say, can you help me remember why this is happening? It'll drop in like a thought. It'll drop in a sensation, a feeling, maybe a flavor, a taste. It just takes you to that moment in the past where you're just like, this is where it's comes from. At least for me, that's how it works sometimes where I'm just like, I don't understand what's going on. And I just ask. And it's like, boop, my team just
Yeah.
comes in, pops in that, and I go, oh my God, that's so true. How come I didn't see it? Because when you're in it, you're in it. And sometimes it gets hard to see it. So it's nice to have those moments of clarity and create space so that you can make room for that information to hit you and come in to guide you.
Right. Yes, that self reflection. And there's different ways we can get to the information. So, like you said, some of us ask, and the claircognizant or telepathic, the message comes through, but then also journaling. And I'm seeing exercise and dance and movement because that activates the energy and it can help it come to the surface. And I'm releasing a lot of emotion. So, the suppressed or emotions that are stuffed down deep, when they come out, not only are we having that clearing and we feel better, but there's some clarity in the mental space that lets us know what it's about. And earlier you were speaking about communication. And I was coming to that place where it's like if there's miscommunication or if they don't want to communicate, that might be when it's like, okay, well, I'm showing up and I'm here. This is coming up. Do you want to communicate about it? And some people don't have the skills to do so, or there's some healing that needs to take place. And so then I feel like that's where some professional therapy and counseling can really, really benefit. And there's different types of therapists and counselors, and in addition to that, like in my world, I like to get extra information with a reading or a healing session because then it's like, okay, let's talk about the energetic dynamics here. And when you go to a therapist that has the so what's the word? The skill set that incorporates accessing past lives, let's say that, then you
Mhm.
might find, oh, wait a minute, this goes into multiple past lives, or it goes back, 15 generations on this side of the family or whatever it might be. And actually, you would say, oh, some of this is in the DNA. So let's go through time and space and heal that. And there are techniques to do this. And it could even be energy therapist, a reader, hypnotherapist that might take us on that journey. And that's where the energy can really be released or addressed and understood. And then we alchemize it. So when we're thinking, oh my gosh, this keeps coming up, what's going on here? It's nice to say, well, if I've done everything in this world to try and, clear it and balance it and make peace and like get us all on the same page, but this pattern or this topic keeps resurfacing, maybe we do look a little bit deeper. Are you seeing that in the collective where people are wanting to go a little bit deeper, or is it like news for a lot of us? I think, until we've had these thoughts introduced to us, we might not have ever thought, "Oh, this could be a past life pattern."
So I love that you asked me that question because I feel like it's two different things. There are people who are so open to it and are like willing to go into those deeper spaces within themselves. But then there are a few who are afraid and just feel like, "Oh, I don't know if I'm open to that yet." And it's almost like they haven't fully allowed themselves to go within themselves to feel that. So collectively, I feel like there is a curiosity towards it that wasn't there before, where, okay, this person is speaking about a topic, they're obviously tapping into these ancestral kind of themes that are popping up for me, but there's something like a sense of hesitation. And I'm only saying this because that's what I got when I did my lives last month. It's like a little bit of sense of hesitation with opening up something that they're not sure what's going to be on the other side. And it's that common theme of, I'm safe with what's common or normal for me, or what seems familiar, that comfortability of the
Mm,
familiar, but haven't fully opened themselves up to truly seeing like what could be on the other side of that door could be a lot more lighter, less heavy, less dense, and more of clarity coming through in the sense of you becoming more of yourself. And I feel like it is coming in, but everybody is going at a pace that suits them, and it's very different because when one person would come into the live, I would feel their energy come in and I would feel, okay, this person is open to something a little bit more. And
mm,
then another person would come into the live and I would feel, okay, they're like rushing to do things in the physical, but they haven't realized how much they're doing energetically outside of themselves too. But they need, it's like when you said, if you're doing things in the physical so much, but you're not realizing how much the energetics of it are coming into play to help clear that. It's
yeah,
nice to have somebody hold space for you, especially somebody who can see things that maybe you're too in to really realize what's going on a brighter scale, a wider scale, and a brighter scale too. But it just brings in that clarity. And so it's so convoluted because I feel like so much is happening in the world, but it's always happening. But I feel like it's making the stage for people to just, they can't hide those things anymore. You can't
right.
unfeel them, you can't unsee them. They're there. And it's just, how tired are you growing of the same patterns? How tired are you feeling of just stuffing that stuff within you, when in reality, when that one person that comes around you that kind of just asks you like, how are you, it really, and you're willing to open up. And I feel like it just takes that moment as a society to just kind of just be honest within ourselves and honest outside of ourselves, and it brings this vibration of, it's okay to speak up. It's
Yeah,
okay to be in this space and not be okay. And it almost like, oh, okay, it's that, not that societal conditioning of, oh, I have to show I'm okay because that's what I've always been taught. Like, no, it's okay not to be okay, and just be a little bit more honest. And
yeah,
I feel like that opens up the floodgates to more possibilities.
right. Yes, and you've said a couple of things, including this, that's leading me to speak about the healer's journey and
Mhm.
how I think once we get to a certain part, I'm going to kind of go backwards with my thoughts here. But as a empathic, sensitive healer who's tuned, like I'm tuned into so much energy all the time. So
Yes.
in my private space, in my inner circle, in my family life, it needs to be clear. Like it just gets to the point that over the years, any chaos or negative energy, like I can't just sit with it and not address it. We need to speak it. And if the other party doesn't want to, then at least there's an answer here. And I can just kind of put my energy, buffer my aura out and be like, okay, well, in the future, then if you want to go in deeper, we can. But right now, I'm not carrying that weight and I'm not going to let it sit in my field and bother me. Because, like you mentioned earlier, that like there's like this chaotic, like humming frequency, and that's what it can be when somebody else's energy is in our space. And, people like to leave their problems with you sometimes or project and dump it on you. And then now I stand firm in my boundaries, like, oh, okay, I understand there's something going on here, but we're both going to work through it. Like, I'm not going to carry this energy. So I can guide it out of my energy field. And also, like, if somebody is in a space of chaos and they're having a hard time, I don't want to dump it back to them either. So what I'll do is I'll ask an angel to come in and hold it, or I'll ask like the spirit of peace and light to come around and kind of keep it here for a minute, and until the other person wants to go deeper or in a space where they can, and then we address it at that time. But what I was feeling and hearing previously is that healer's journey. So many healers have gone through these experiences. And in fact, many of us, that's what led us into becoming a healer, a reader, a therapist, is because we realize, wow, there's a way for peace and there's a way to get resolution. And in that process, we're healing very deeply within it. So when when we're working and we're moving through life, it's great to be able to feel, when we feel called to, that we can speak about our experiences or just say, yes, I understand. Like, I've seen this before, I've been through it, and we understand the complexities of emotions and also like how emotions and the mental state work together. They really work hand in hand to say, how am I
Yes.
feeling? Okay, so then what does this mean? So, like that choice point, how do I want to move forward with it? And I feel like, as you mentioned, holding space for ourselves and others gives us that moment of pause to let the energy unwind, just kind of let it all come out onto the table. And then we can say, well, what are we ready to release? What is left? And then how are we going to move forward with that? So we do have that clarity. It feels like a healing session and a reading with you would really help people to do that, to uncover what's happening. Do you want to like just share with me kind of your experience as a reader or a healer? Because sometimes I feel like our sessions blend the two truly, right? So, what you're seeing, are you seeing people have that instant awareness, or is there integration period? Do they come back for multiple sessions?
So, depending on the individual and what they're trying to work with, it hits very differently. So, I'll have a client who will have a subject come up and feel like, okay, I'm grasping so much of it because there is a heavy energetic with it, as far as like deconditioning mental aspect and emotional aspects of it, because so much family programming is there with it as well. And so, like, gaining the support to understand that what you're feeling isn't you going crazy. That pressure or that need to respond or that outside feeling of like some people's family dynamics are very different. They sometimes don't feel safe and they don't feel like they have the opportunity to exit out of that in physical environment to where they can create a safe environment, yet be whether it be financial means or whether it be just trying to go to different goals. But what I do see a lot with that is they will come back and every session gets a lot easier for them, where they're able to speak up, where they're able to feel things and realize, okay, collectively, this is how I've been feeling my whole life, but I didn't understand how it can affect my physical body, how the emotions of my family, not just here in the physical, but in the spiritual, can come around sometimes and really invoke this like need to speak up, need to do this, but know that you sit in the driver's seat of your life and that you have power over that in a way where you can speak your piece and say, I need you to back up a little bit. I need you to get out of my space because I need to feel what I need to feel in the moment. And I understand there's a collective feeling of sadness or of grief or unexpressed anger in a safe or in a healthy way. But right now I need time for me. So it's almost like giving that, for lack of a better word, permission slip to somebody to just feel how they feel and know that you don't have to allow that in your field. And I think you said that so perfectly to Amy. But at the same time, it's like there's all this stuff outside of you. And if you can come in to yourself and know what is and isn't yours, it makes it a lot easier to clear up that energetic junk.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it really makes it so much easier on your heart space, like, because I'm feeling so much at my heart, like, just to know who you are, and it kinda, like, pump out your chest and be proud of who you are. This vessel is beautiful. This being in this physical space is beautiful. And sometimes some things are very hectic and crazy, but just like I see that in certain clients, I also see the dynamic where a client will have one session and I won't see them for a very long time, but somehow they reach out and say, thank you. I always think about what you said in the session. I'm like, oh, okay, well, those were your guides coming in. I didn't realize, like, sometimes I don't always remember what's said because I'm there
Yeah.
and it's just like, "Du-du-du-du-du," it flows out. But it makes that, it gives that individual the courage and the wherewithal within themselves to know that I can go through life and I can do this and I can switch up the way I see things or feel things in a way that is honoring me and not
Mhm.
just always self sacrificial for the whole that is outside of you because that's what you were made to feel your whole life. Um, so I feel like it shows up very differently with each person, especially like in person sessions and remote. That's what I offer as well. But
Mhm.
every family dynamic is very different. And that's okay. Like, there's no perfect dynamic. I feel like we all feel things and express things very differently. But there are these like patterns that kind of come in because somehow there's like a frequency or resonation within us that says,
Yeah.
let's clear this. And there's also the wherewithal within us to say, okay, do I really want to understand what's going on within me yet? Like, you almost have
Right.
to ask yourself those questions to gain a deeper understanding of what's really going on. So, like, I feel like that having that conscious awareness of what are some cycles in your life? What
Yeah.
are some rebirth things that you're doing? What are some integrations, transformations that you're going within? It's like you're going through these cycles, but when you have this awareness within you, it doesn't feel as hard because you know that these are coming in for a reason. And it's almost like, okay, I have this awareness of there's a theme playing out. Let me sit with it for a little bit and
Right.
see how has this repeated throughout the years of my life. And maybe this is something that you've been carrying since you were a kid and you had no idea that it's been playing out so that you can see it with whether it's a family member, a friend, or whatever, it comes
Mhm.
in so that you can really see the true power of it and understand that, okay, this whole time I've been dancing with the theme of fear in my life. How has fear led me to now? And then you
Yeah.
kind of see, oh, maybe it was just me trying to figure out that fear is just something that lets you know what's going to happen. And it's funny because like my husband will describe fear as like, oh, it just lets me know where I need to go. And I'm like, oh, so he uses fear to guide him.
Nice.
Whereas me, I used to use fear to like be like this, but then he
Yeah.
opened me up to a different view of seeing it. So like I feel like it really plays into the theme of what you're saying. Like your families really do teach you so much, whether it's whatever range of scale that you're experiencing with, you are learning so much. And sometimes if it can be a dynamic where you're teaching each other, you can expand individually and as a group very much, and it doesn't always have to be something so crazy and dynamic. It might just be to have a different perspective. It might just
Yeah.
be how to explain yourself a little bit more differently so that you can hit that heart center in a way that's like resonates with more than just yourself and they can kind of feel what you're feeling. So it's a beautiful thing to expand in that way. So I hope that
Yeah.
I feel like I went started one place and ended up somewhere else.
Oh, it was beautiful. Yeah, I will. Isn't that how we flow? I love it. Yes, yes, and I can feel so much energy coming in as well. And so one thing that I wanted to highlight, the difference, I guess, or an aspect of benefit of clearing this energy up in a healing session or with a reader is that we're accessing information from beyond the veil, the unknown, the subconscious, but we're truly tuning in with the guides who have all of this information. So it's solving a mystery, we'll say. Like there's some mysteries here of like, why does this hit so hard? Why is it coming up over and over? And we might look at it in one aspect, and yes, that's true, and it needs to be addressed. But guess what? There's that surprise, surprise I'm hearing. There's like four other areas. It's like, okay. So I had a client last week, and I could see in the energy field when they were speaking this activation of light, and this looked like a thread of light going through the dimensions. And I followed the thread of light as a clairvoyant, and I was like, "Oh, this is going to the, family tree," and I would see, like, on one side of the family tree and be able to see how many generations back, and I was like, "Okay, this is it." I'm delivering the message, and then again, surprise, "Oh, wait, it's actually also on the other side going back these generations." So there's 2 mother and father back at certain number of generations. So we clear that, and one of the techniques, because I did wanna talk about, like, some of the techniques that you use, but I think in this one, I was channeling an energy and it felt really strong, like my whole body started humming, and I'm watching that light come through me into those threads of light going all the way back, lighting it up until it dissolved, but also it's like it hit this crescendo, it was like humming, and then like there was that release and it all stopped and it neutralized that frequency and it was healed through time and space. So then we come back into the now moment. And then I saw with my client what we needed to do for her. I was getting other visions of her past lives. So it was really compounded. It was her past lives plus her ancestors. And what was the focal point or the space where it ignited it all were experiences, like you mentioned, over and over in this life, the pattern was coming up. So it is that space of, oh, this is presenting because there's something here to look at. And I think when we just reframe it, we can understand it. And then we say, oh, okay, let's look at that. Let's like keep it coming to the surface so that we're not stuffing it in and passing that on not only to our children, and if we don't have children, it goes in the family line to nieces and nephews, like in that way, but also the upcoming lives and the continued relationships that we're having. So it's like we're healing for so many people. Um, but as you were speaking and I'm having this awareness of like, okay, well, what are some of the differences, the highlighted benefits and aspects of working in a session like how you and I work with a therapist in a spiritual space, an energy therapist or a healer and reader is we have these different tools and you mentioned clearing the energy. Do you want to share like because there's so many modalities and aspects,
Yes,
but what are some of the ones that really
that
come
I
through for you? Yeah.
so I love working with Reiki energy, but I feel like at the same time when you're channeling, especially when I channel the Council of 11 or the archangels and they come through, they come in with this frequency and this flavor that's very different. They'll use elements that I wouldn't normally use, whether it be water, fire, whether it be like this like sparkly kind of frequency is the best way I can describe it, where it just comes in with love and so much affection that is unconditional. And it helps like widen a field of like buoyancy around somebody to just create that perfected protection film so that you have that space. Like when you were talking about buffering your aura and just creating that space, like if you don't know how to do that for yourself, they come in to do that and they do it in such a beautiful way. There's been times where I'm doing a Reiki session and I'll be in somebody's heart space and I'll see like if there's imprints from family, sometimes it'll be very harsh imprints. If there's I've seen where people have gotten hurt in relationships, but there were blows that they never experienced, like never thought it was going to come in that way. So you'll see like spears at the back of the heart or cords trying to ravel a heart. Like you can see the
Mhm.
energy. So I feel like an added benefit of having a session with somebody who can tune into these frequencies and feel it is you get to see the objects through somebody's gifts, but they hit in the areas of what did it feel like when this blow was taken? What did it feel
Yeah.
like? And when you invite in those that Reiki energy to just come in and kind of like amplify the healing process, but also allowing for like the Council of 11 to come in and bring their aspect of it and just really clarify. Like I remember specifically one time I was having a session and I was at somebody's crown chakra, but they like removed one of the minor chakras, and like below it at the root of it there was like this
Mm.
jelly stuff, and it tripped me out. I was like, why are you showing me this black jelly stuff? And they're like, it's programming, this is what it
Ah.
is. And I was just like, but why are you showing me jelly? And they're like, you hate jelly. And I go like, or jello, not jelly, it's jello.
Oh.
I love jelly in my, I said jello. But I was just like, that's how much of this program is. What you don't like in the physical realm, this is being represented for you. So I was just like having that interaction with my team. And I thought it was pretty
Yeah.
funny because as they were talking about the dynamics behind that jello blob, and it was like clearing up, instead of being all this black, heavy stuff, it started to just flow out and it would turn white, and then but it was black with like these white sparkles in it. And it's like as they were sharing what the dynamic and the patterns of it, like common beliefs on both sides of the family, it started to kind of like s- get small in size, smaller and smaller and smaller, and then what was left was just the sparkles. So like I took that as the information that needed to come in so that you understand like what is healthy, what isn't healthy. And when I say what isn't or isn't healthy, is more like the dynamics within yourself of like what is true for you, what is not true
Mhm.
for you, and what feels and resonates and is in alignment with your energy. So like working with those type of energies in my team and spirit really helps clarify that sticky stuff in somebody's field that you know it's there and you can feel it, but you don't know what it is. And I think this specific client said they had like been feeling like their bones on the inside were cold, like super cold. Like it was this weird coldness. And so when jelly gets cold, it feels a certain way and it forms a certain way. Like, have you ever made a soup and you just put it in the fridge and it's hot and it's all like, oh, it's cool. But when
Yeah.
it solidifies and it gets cold in the fridge because the cartilage, it gets hard kind of. And so she was feeling this uncomfortable in her uncomfortableness in her body, and taking that jello out and speaking out the old beliefs that had been there that were just playing in the background. They went in, cleaned it up, put back that chakra, and then moved on to the next space. And then explained how much of like her ancestral sadness was coming in through the bones right now for her. And
Yes.
that was the pain. And sometimes you'll have these pains in your body, pains in your spaces, and you don't understand why. And you touched on it so perfectly. I mean, it's like that aspect of the DNA. It's certain things that you're playing out, and you might think, oh, I'm just being sensitive today. Sometimes it's something bigger than you. So it's nice to
Mhm.
be in a space where you can tune into the frequencies and see, oh, what has been going on with my body? What is this I'm feeling? I feel like this crazy heaviness that is not me, but I don't know what to do with it. It's nice when you have somebody there that can tune into that frequency, let you know what's the aspect of that energy, what is it trying to tell you? Because
Yeah.
sometimes there'll be things on people's backs, and I see them like those little slimes, and
Yes.
they'll come up, and I'll just ask them, well, where are you from? And there are different dynamics. Sometimes we carry a lot of weight for like responsibility with family in our backs. And I'll like pull the slime out. Sometimes my favorite thing to do is like look at people's shoulder blades and kind of just lift it up and see what's
Yeah.
behind there. Because
What's in
there's
there?
these little buggers like to hide there. And I just like energetically pull them out and just ask, what's going on? And it could tie into like the sense of responsibility that was put on to somebody since they were a child, of
Mhm.
taking care of their siblings, making sure they were okay, making sure they were fed, like having this bigger dynamic on them. So when we allow for those energies to come up, kind of speak, say what they need to say, it's easier to just get that out of you. But then the added bonus is working with the energies of like the archangels, the angelic realm, and asking
Yeah.
them to come in, bring in that light into those spaces. So once it's been said, replace that space with light, replace that space with love, the energies that you do want in your life. And when I work with the Council of 11 and the archangels and the angelic realm, they bring in that frequency and that vibrancy to bring in healing aspects. Like there's been so many times they put like a shield around somebody's heart so that they have that integration period, so that they
Yeah.
can go through what's to come in the next few weeks where it doesn't really hit their energy field like it normally would have. Whereas if they're so sensitive, it's not coming so close to them. So they don't have to feel it as intensely. It's just creating that buffer so that you have that space to integrate how your session went, what are the emotions that were brought up, and you have that space to heal. It takes a little bit of while for what's done in the energetic field to kind of just ripple out into the physical, and there's this time frame that is needed to kind of allow for yourself to acclimate to that change, that shift.
Mhm.
Because when you do the energy work, it really does show up in the physical. And sometimes I forget, because I think we were in Sacred Healer Circle one time, we were talking about contracts and stuff, and I think
Yeah.
I had shared that I was like shredding a bunch of my old payroll checks. And I was just like, I hadn't seen these bosses in years. Like, I'm working somewhere else. And I was just shredding all these payroll checks. And then I was just saying out loud, like something within me just said, I release any contracts, anything, any ill intent, whatever. And I just spoke it. The very next like day or something, I'm at work and they pass by. And these were my old bosses. And I'm like, oh, hey. And it's not one, it's both of them. And I just said, that was weird. So
Yeah.
just doing that energetic work, even in the physical, shifts stuff, and it can show up in your physical depending how open sometimes or just non-resistant you are to things. It just shows up instantly. So I feel
Yes.
like when you do energy sessions with a healer that can hold space, you'd be surprised how much happens in the physical right after.
Mhm.
And I always get surprised. And when I get a client to come who comes back and just tells me, "Oh, this, and that happened," I just go, "What?" And I'm just like, "That's amazing."
Yes, yes. Sometimes things will happen in life leading up to something, and I'll call that like the synchronicity that's, letting us know, okay, you're on your right path and you're in alignment, and here we go, messages from spirit. And then after these shifts that we have in the safe container of a session or a conversation with our team, maybe we're doing our own work with like breath work or meditation. And then, like what you're just sharing, then it happens. And that's when I say, oh, this is confirmation. Like I knew I could feel the energy shift. I feel better. I was getting clarity about it. But here now, moments later, hours or days after, it's like all kind of like the dominoes you're watching get that ripple effect happen and take place. And so when your previous bosses walked by, I'm sure it was like a different feeling and sensation in your field and your body
Yes.
than it had been prior, right?
Yes, yes, girl. I was just like, "What?" I just literally did that, and it didn't feel like what I thought it was gonna feel like, exactly how you said. It's more of like, "Hey, I can say hi," and not have
Yeah.
any attachment to what was done in the past. It's almost like, "Okay, bye."
Yeah, we got it. It's clean. It's ready to go,
Mhm,
ready to move on.
mhm,
Yeah. Oh my goodness. You shared so much. I love the details that you were sharing with your healing work because that is something that when you start an energy course like Reiki, then you're
mhm.
continuing to expand. And the more that we do our own inner work and we work with others, it allows more of the light to come through and our clairsenses to amplify. So then we get to start interacting with our teams, and your team is the Council of 11, and you're also working with, I'm assuming Ascended Masters, I believe, and Archangels. Do they all
Yes.
come in? Okay. I was
I feel like
feeling
they
that.
come in randomly because, like,
Yes.
I get these aspects, and I feel like a good tell all is, like, things around me just kinda shift towards that. So, like, there'll be sessions where like Rumi will just like feel like, oh, okay, it's this poetic, this inner knowing, this like journey within. Like, when are you going to start the journey into yourself, into your heart?
Mm,
And for a long time, that quote would like pop up for me. And I can see now how long he's been just popping up. And then just
yeah.
different ascended masters in that aspect, because like the prayer work, I think you also recommended a book for me. It's I have it right here, Archangels and Ascended Masters.
Oh, yes. That's a
And
great one.
when I was like reading the prayers in it, I noticed that things would pop up. Like, you literally do the prayers, and they would, like, I feel like for a while I was doing a prayer with what is it, Mother, I think it was Mother Teresa, or if not Lady Catherine, something like that. And I would just say the prayer, and I would go to sleep right before I say the prayer, and I'd wake up with the answer. And I was just
Nice.
like, interesting. And or like even when I was going through something, I'd flip to the back because I think it has an index in there. and just
Yes.
like kind of look into it. And then I would ask for support from the archangels. And then like I would work with Raguel, Zachiel, and it would be different things, like different flavors and different vibrations. So it's really, really awesome.
Yeah, I love that you share that. So we'll start to be introduced, outside of sessions and then in sessions. There'll be sometimes themes where these ascended masters, like, I'm like, oh, hey, I haven't seen you in like a couple of years, even. It's like, oh, it's so cool that this ascended master is here today. That's kind of a behind the scenes experience from the person holding the space and doing the reading, is that we see so much and it's so fun to have that variety and know that truly we're fully supported, and every client has a different team that comes in with them. But those details that you were sharing, you're able to share because of your continued work in the field and tuning in your conscious intention to your own spiritual practice, that then you're able to share with others. And we all start at a certain space, so I don't want anybody to ever feel overwhelmed, like, "Oh, wow, that's, like, wild. I have to be there within a month?" No, there's no time limit. We're flowing. It's a journey, and it's important to be in the experience. It's not a test where we're looking for the answers. It's wisdom that we're actually acquiring while we're having these conversations with our team and while we're holding space and channeling the frequencies in. So, I love that you shared that. And I was also thinking this conversation is one that we had in this recent cohort for Sacred Healer Circle, which you were in the one prior. And
Yes.
so I just wanted to share with you that some of the stuff you're sharing and the experience that I shared about the DNA and ancestors is a real true common theme. We dove in quite a bit deeper in our last call.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but, and that's the experience, with the Sacred Healer Circle, is it's very much what's going on now in the collective, and a lot of it is coming from spirit and channeled in addition to the questions that members have as far as, like, what they've experienced in their sessions, or if they have questions around even their business practice and setting up like emails or their website and these kinds of things. We talk about everything. And so it's truly a benefiting space of community for those that are learning and advancing, but dedicated. So we have practitioners that have been practicing for years and some who are just getting started. So it's kind of like the perfect segue. Do you have anything to share from your time?
I have so much to share, Amy, because you're freaking amazing. And
Aw.
so when we were in that circle, it like amplifies this energetic like field of awareness within you while you're in that circle. And you have this magical way of like when we're sitting down, we're flowing with it. It's like every week or every few weeks that we were doing this, it would just bring in that supportive energy that was needed at that time, or like a wider awareness of what's actually going on in not just these sessions with our clients but with ourselves at the same time, because I feel like it's a big ripple effect. Whatever you do within your internal world is really reflected out, and then you help me really understand when I'm going through these cycles of like transformation or awareness within myself, it's for a reason. And it really does show up. It literally would show up in my client sessions, like maybe the next month or the next week, whenever they would show up, I would be going through something. And I go, why am I going through this? It
Yeah.
was to prepare me for the next client that was coming in. And it was really interesting to see that kind of play out. And on top of that, it was just having a space where we could just talk and be heard and understood and feel welcome and in a sense accepted for whatever we could do in our ability, no matter like how you said, don't compare your chapter like 26 to
Yeah.
somebody's chapter 1. You are on your own journey, you're on your own pace. It is okay to move the way you need to move in order to feel like yourself, in order to feel like you are progressing through your own journey and your healer's journey. And so I feel like the Sacred Healer Circle is a space for that. No matter where you are in your practice, it's always nice to have a community of like-minded people and people who do have different perspectives so that you can broaden in your
Yeah.
horizon and your awareness to what's really happening. Like even in this conversation while we're doing the podcast, like I'll say something and you'll like expand it. I go, oh, I love the way she sees that. So you'll see my head like going like this.
Yes.
So it's
Same.
like you gain so much support, you gain so much awareness, but you gain so much growth and just like the dynamics in that community because like the people that were in the circle, I still keep in touch with them. Like
Mhm.
we still talk, we'll be going through our own things and then we'll like meet up and we'll talk about what's going on with our sessions and they'll be like this is where I'm at or this is what's going on in my sessions and you're like okay, I'm not just the only one. This is
Right.
like a bigger ripple effect.
Yeah. Oh, that makes me so happy. Yes, it's
Yeah.
like continued support and community support. So we had the first cohort and it took a couple months off and then Spirit was like, "It's time." So here we are with our second cohort and really excited for everybody. And then you who were in the first cohort are still in the group chat. So it's
Mhm,
like a bonus, it's an added continuation.
mhm.
Of community and outreach and people can talk in there like, "Oh my gosh, I'm seeing this," or, "Has anybody had an experience with that? Any advice?" And so I'm really grateful. Thank you for sharing all of this. Like, I'm feeling all this light pour in, and I'm just so grateful to be able to be a part of like this, Spirit said, "Hey, we want this group, like, there's opportunity." They're really channeling the idea through, like, I could feel it in my heart. And the name, the Sacred Healer Circle, kept coming in over and over because it's a space of respect that those who are there for the right reasons and they're honoring everybody's journey. And it's just this like brilliant container of light and love and warmth. And so I'm so happy. It was really fun for me to get to like know you deeper in those conversations and to support you. So super grateful. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for also following Spirit's call when you joined. And how do you feel like now? It's been some months after and the continued like experience. How is it flowing for you now?
So I feel like I still go back because when we were doing the Sacred Healer Circle, we would also have one-on-ones off to the side, which was really amazing. So if you guys are on the fence, ask yourself, ask your team, be shown, is this in alignment with me? And trust me, if it is, you're gonna feel it tenfold. And if you're on the fence about it, try it. There's nothing to lose when you have a mentor who has all this experience, who can tap into not just what's going on physically, emotionally, mentally, but spiritually and energetically with you.
Mm.
And it's almost like we would be in these containers of like, I like to think of it as a cocoon. Like we're going through a metamorphosis together as a group and we birth this beautiful butterfly afterwards. And it's a container for you to kind of like melt away what isn't yours and kind of really bring the parts of you that you might have thought were mundane or weren't as important. They are. That's
Yeah.
your magic. And
Yeah.
having somebody hold space to show you what is your actual magic really clears up a lot. So for me, when I was in the circle, it helped clear up so much themes that were coming up for me, especially last year. Like 2024 was the year where I felt like I had 3 years of time going on in 1 year. It like really amplified so much for me. And on top of like taking the Learn to Channel course and everything, it's just like I was in this container of rebirth and I didn't really understand what was going on until like I came out of it. And even then it's like a whole nother cycle of rebirth coming in. So it's like if
Yeah.
anything, it just amplifies what's there in a way to support your growth, in a way to support yourself to understand who you are inside. So that when you're outside in the world, you're not so unstabilized. You have this clear awareness. And when you realize that it's not just you going through it, but there's like a dynamic that's rippling through the atmosphere into their physical reality from the energetic realms, it brings in this sense of like, we are being supported. We just sometimes aren't taught to look at things this way. And having somebody who has the experience, Amy, you, uh, to just like really call that energy out and let us see it from a different perspective, like it it brightens my horizon. So like now, months after, I have my energetic practice for myself, and I also have my business where I'm allowing myself to be seen and doing the things that flows from me to be shared in a way that's me, and it's not
Yeah.
so convoluted with so much of what everything outside of you is trying to tell you that you should do or what this is. Like, no, it's a personal journey, and it helped me really expand into my own personal journey inside so that when I speak or when I show up in places, like even it even reflects in my relationships because I've had family members. Like I was talking to my cousin yesterday. She's just like, our aunt was telling me that you like ever since you started doing this, you look different. And
Ah.
so I thought that was funny. And
Nice.
then, but not in a bad way. She meant to like it as a compliment. I go,
Yeah, the
She goes,
light.
yes. She couldn't put her finger on it. She said, you just look different. And then so like don't be surprised if like people that are close to you start to see that because even people say when I hear you talk differently now. You don't talk the same. So the
Mm.
Sacred Healers Circle is a circle of healers, but it's also a container of healing and expansion and rejuvenation for yourself and for your practice and whatever you want to do in your life when you feel like you're coming from a space of the heart. So I feel like it's the perfect container to help anybody who's looking for that unity, community, and that self awareness that maybe they need to kind of just like come back to who you are.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing your experience, and I loved that your family can see the shift. Yeah,
Yeah.
kudos to you, girl. That's a lot of like your healing work, your dedication showing up for yourself that
Mhm.
is now manifesting through people are feeling it and seeing it, and it's like undeniable, right? So
Yes.
oh, it makes me smile so much. I love it. There was something else that you were sharing. Let me see. I lost the thought. There's a lot of energy here, and I'm just like over here smiling and going along with the conversation for the ride. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I did have a thought. I did have a question here. Okay, what was it about? Oh, well, oh, there's so much here. So I was just thinking, wow, you are such an elegant speaker. And I know that you're aligned and a lot of it's coming channeling through from even your higher self as you're sharing. And I'm hearing the word witnessing. It's like a self-reflection, like we're witnessing and we're witnessing for others, but also as we speak and we're channeling our higher selves, it's like an aspect of us as witnessing for our human self. It's so powerful to have that support from spirit and then be able to live the human experience with that, knowing that we're not alone. And the group, I think, is a way to feel that support on the ground, like community here, also understanding. And it's nice as the person holding space and facilitating is I'll tune in and I'll feel and sense so many of the different guides and the teams from all the members. And it's like amplifying that light. And we're all in these, like the overall big mission, right? To bring light and lift the frequency and the peaceful space here on earth. But then we all have our little subsets and our qualities. And that is something I was reflecting on when you mentioned um, being in the circle, and I forget exactly what you said, but it reminded me of when I had my mentors and I was getting into this, and they would reflect back to me certain qualities that I had that I never realized were, unique or special or whatever. And they're like, no, not everybody sees it that way or can do this or has that perspective and that gift. And so what I love about these groups is that, like you mentioned, others are going to reflect back to you and really pull that to the surface of your awareness so that then you honor it and implement it and really truly realize how unique and special you are. And all of us have this gorgeous divine essence that when it all comes together is just amazing, like a beautiful chorus of amazing songs of healing light. And then individually, we have that frequency that shines. So, um, the circle is that community, but it's also the mentorship space. So, along the lines of helping members refine and uncover and remember and then amplify those gifts is a huge part of it. And it's been really, really amazing. So the next one is here, guys. If you want to join, if you're looking for support, you can sign up at spiritschoolonline.com and come into the group and just start flowing into it. It's month by month. So you can see how you feel about it. But truly, it's been a great heart spaced experience. And Lizzie, like, I feel like it's been amazing because you and I've had so much time getting to work together and know one another, and I've seen you blossom, and your skills are beyond, girl. Like, it's been amazing. And so it's so cool to call you like a colleague and a friend now when in certain settings I've been your teacher and mentor,
Aw,
and like healer. It's
I'm
like,
getting
oh my
shy.
gosh. Yeah, no, it's so awesome. And you also shared with me your new expansion that you have coming up, your new project. And so I'd love for you to share with the listeners as well.
Yes. So I'm starting a podcast. It's called Spark the Hearts with the Z at the end. And it's centered around creating community, letting the unseen, unfelt, untalked about be brought up. So
Mm,
I like to like touch on cycles of like rebirth, regeneration, transformation, and just clearing the field. I feel like, oh, my heart's getting so excited talking about this, but it's just I feel like there's so much that has gone on that sometimes you when there's not spaces to talk about this stuff, it's almost like, okay, we don't talk about that, especially in family dynamics, because
yeah.
that was a big thing for me growing up. And I just want to be that person that's there to help somebody who maybe doesn't always get to hear or like really understand what cycle of life you're in right now, whether if it's a cycle of transformation or change or growth or rebirth, like to understand what's really happening within your inner world and outer world when it feels chaotic, because sometimes it could
Yeah.
just feel like everything's falling apart, but sometimes it's falling apart to clear the way for more. And sometimes it might just feel like we're just stuck inside our body. Well, that's like your soul's kind of trying to tell you it's time to expand outside of your comfort zone and
Mhm.
what's calling to you. And it's I wish I would have had somebody outside of me at a younger age just saying, like, if you could just spend 5 minutes with yourself and just journal for a little bit, spend 5 minutes to do this, or, understand that this is the dynamic. It's almost like wanting to create a space so that people gain this awareness, not just of what's physically happening with our eyes or what we're being like, what is the word? What emotions are being highlighted at the time. It's almost having a deeper understanding of how cycles in life work so that you can move through cycles at any age, at any time, with an awareness that helps you from the heart and doesn't make it so tumultuous and chaotic or
Mhm.
unfelt, unheard, and we just stuff it down. It's like you don't have to do that when you understand what's really happening outside of you is calling something within you. And when you
Yeah.
can connect with that, I feel like for me, that would have been a great service at a younger age. And so I want to provide that. So I guess essentially all I'm trying to do is just create a space for the people that need that or would like to feel that or would like to hear that. So it's just very centered on community of the being made, heard, felt, seen, and understood.
Oh, I love it.
Mhm.
Yes, and the cycle thing is so important and everything that comes with that and the acceptance and the honoring and knowing there's nothing wrong because we're in like a
Mm-mm.
different stage in the cycle. And here I'm in my fourth decade in this life and it still continues. And I think,
Mhm.
it's like one of those things like, wow, that would have been cool to know at the beginning and feel the flow and have somebody just like hold that space and help me clarify what this cycle is all about and how to
Mhm.
show up with it. And really a lot of that's accepting and honoring, but sometimes we're called to do deeper work. So this sounds amazing. I'm super, super, super excited for you and for everybody
Thank
whose
you.
lives you're going to be touching. Yeah, so it's called Spark the Hearts with a Z at the end. This is a podcast. And will you be mostly like, are you going to do video and audio or are you leaning more towards one platform?
Right now, I'm leaning towards audio until I can figure out the video. And once I
Gotcha.
figure out the video and I can make it a fun experience, because when I do this stuff, I want to make it fun.
Yeah, of
Just so that
course.
the energy behind it is not so heavy. Even when heavier topics get talked about, they don't have to be so like cryptic or chaotic.
Mhm.
It's something that I wanna bring to the table, so when I do this right now, it's been fun just doing the audio because I can be, like, in my PJs doing my thing, but eventually, I want to bring it to a video so that people, because 'cause I'm the type of person who likes to watch podcasts on YouTubes too, and so I was like, "I know that if somebody is like me, they're gonna wanna see me talking, so eventually, I'm gonna do that."
Yeah, awesome. I love it. Well, we can connect if you have questions. I can share some of the
Thank you.
tips that I've learned myself. just might
Thank
not
you.
be
And
the
you
most professional, but it's working.
girl, as
So,
long as it flows and it makes it efficient and like not having to do so much, but still get the concrete of it, I'm down for
yeah.
it.
Cool. Yeah, I'll let you know my favorites for the video aspect. It has been so awesome to reconnect. Thank you so, so much for coming on today. I'm just really, really excited. My heart is full. It's like, oh, it's going to be a great day and week because we're at the beginning of the week. So, hey, hey. So, thank you so much, girl. And share with everybody before we close where they can find you on socials and then your website.
So I do have Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And my website is sparkthehearts with the Z.com. If you want to check me out, I have all my links, everything there. I do tend to go more live on Instagram than any other platform. So follow me there for sure for the most current updates. It's just fun to be on that one.
Yeah, it's kind of easy. And to me, it's like retro old school. It's what I
Yeah.
really started out on, even though they keep changing, it's just comfortable. But yeah,
Yes.
girl. Aw, well, thank you so
Yeah.
much. And thank you to our viewers and listeners. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Spirit and Soul Healing Podcast. And if you did, please leave a review, thumbs up, 5 stars, all the jazz. And I'll look forward to seeing you on the next episode.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.